Oh,
I guess he figured that
you know,
out.
Craig was working some stuff backstage.
Or somebody booted him.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to boot myself. All right,
Awesome.
man.
Cool, guys. So I am out of my funky hat, my Batman shirt. I'm taking my background down so you guys can just see me. This is my room. This is where I'm at. I was really honored to give the closing keynote. I actually wasn't going to talk because I was preparing the conference or helping to. And folks from ATAP told me that they'd like me to do it and they'd like me to do this talk because it's near and dear to me. It's super vulnerable. There's a bunch of great takeaways. And I think for me, it's the embodiment of everything I love about what we do, this community, and what this community could be. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So the topic's called revamping your company culture post-COVID, but it's really more than that. It's really what is life like right now? What does it feel like to work? Glenn, really quick before I start, Ra's al Ghul is Aaron Lintz, just FYI. So wanted to kind of impress upon everybody what I'm seeing, what the changes are, how that affects us both as humans and as TA professionals, and kind of where we're at now, where we're moving forward. So for today, let's talk about really quick what's changed, right? Let's talk about working remote. We've all faced some stuff. Even if you've always worked remote, things are different now because everybody else is also remote. We'll talk about social distancing and putting the social in social distancing, what that looks like. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time on the new cultural norms. I finish almost all of my talks with a personal story, so we're going to get real deep at the end of this one. So, guys, what's changed during COVID? I'm starting with the thing most people don't talk about, don't want to think about, right? Like our emotions during all of this. One of the things that's changed, guys, people are feeling fear, right? I know I am. I know when this all started, I was real scared, right? I'm like, what is happening? Right? Are these people predicting doom and gloom, the end of the world? Are they right? Right? Or are these other people saying like, it's like a cold? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. That fear affects the way that I interact with others, the way I interact with you, the community, my family, my friends, right? Another is anxiety. This is something I deal with normally, right? But during all of this, the uncertainty of everything happening, of who to believe, the unclear nature of when is this going to end? When are we going to be through this? Are we going to be through this? What is literally the definition of normal, right? And last, loneliness. People have a hard time talking about this, right? I'm cool to be alone. I'm not cool to be lonely. And there are times I feel that way. Right? Like I haven't been teaching indoor cycling, which is what I do. It's what I do to get FaceTime with people. I have a men's group, my church I go to once or twice a week. Well, we haven't been meeting, doing it virtually. And so for me, and I know many people, we start feeling alone. That affects the way you work. That affects the way you interact with people. If you notice some people maybe want to chat a little longer, maybe want to stay on that Zoom call, even though they're not saying anything. I do. I'm one of them, right? There's a reason for that. It's not random. They're feeling some type of thing they haven't dealt with already. And it's part of what's happening right now, right? Another, working remote. We're going to talk about this right after this section. I'm not going to spend time now on it. We're going to spend a bit of time though. But this has changed. This has changed for the world, right? We know a bunch of companies released that list. Like we're not coming back till July 2021. A month later, a group of those companies and others said, we're never coming back to the office. What? That's crazy, right? Also, the sense of team. If you appreciate this meme, we should probably grab drinks during the happy hour together. If not, sorry, it'll be off the screen in a minute. But like the entire idea of what is a team, right? Like collaboration's a little harder right now. It's a little different. You're not playing ping pong together, going out for beers after work, getting lunch together. You're not kind of growing those bonds that generate and foster that collaborative environment that creates the synergy. It allows us to work at a higher and faster level. Our culture has obviously changed, right? Like our dogs are our coworkers right now, right? Like my coworkers are sleeping on the job all the time. They're the most adorable things on earth, but like that's culture now, right? Take a look, guys. They're gray walls, right? I got a keyboard over here. This is my culture that I've got behind me. So how do we deal with that? And then finally, technology. I don't think I need to spend time on this. If you're telling me that you were doing as many Zoom calls with candidates a year ago as you were today, I'm going to call shenanigans on you and want some data to back that up. We're all using and open to more technology than we've ever been. I will drop dog photos later. I got it. Don't worry. But this is a change. Guys, this is a difference from where people's mindsets were about adopting new technology, particularly the higher up you get in companies, as people are having to adapt. Can't call a conference room meeting anymore. Figure the tech out. In our men's group, we have people in their mid to upper 70s who are like, okay, you got to figure it out. You don't get to, meet with other guys and have your spiritual meetings and such. So with that said, let's talk briefly about working remote. So number one, have a game plan. Okay. Now, I don't mean getting up in the morning saying, I'm going to do X and Y and Z today. Like, no. Have an actionable game plan that will allow you to deliver on what you're doing. What does that look like? I used Todoist, guys. I got to make a list. I need to check stuff off, make sure I can get stuff done. And here's the fun tip. You've got to combine your personal to-dos and work to-dos because you're doing them at the same place and at the same time for many of us. So I put everything on my Todoist, right? I've got to email these clients, send these invoices. I have to meditate. I've got to I do my 5-minute journal. I've got to read my Bible. Those are all in my Todoist every day, right? Second is experiment with time. You can't do this as well when you're working in an office because if you got there at 7 a.m., right, and at 2 p.m., you're like, okay, I need to take a mental breather. I've been here all day. I'm going to chill and watch an episode of Netflix at my desk. Doesn't matter you got there at 7 a.m. People aren't going to be cool with that, right? So what are we doing, right? The Pomodoro technique. This is a great solution for most people. Doesn't work with me. I have ADHD. It's not effective for me personally, but 25 minutes, heads down, no distractions, 5 minutes, take a mental break, do a breather. Mary Brogan, you said someone said they live at work. We're going to talk about that. That's really dangerous. So we're going to go through that. I'm glad you brought that up. But experimenting with time, right? What about just taking breaks, right? How long are you able to work within the law of diminishing returns? Right? Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? Right? Before all of a sudden the quality or the efficiency or speed of your work starts to diminish. Experiment. Try taking a break every hour, even if you don't think like you need it. Try every 2, try every 30 minutes. You have the ability to do this. And the other piece, guys, is there are going to be times where you start super early because maybe you got up and you wanted to meditate and do your journaling and Bible reading, but then you realized that you're throwing a conference the very next day. So you checked your email at 7 a.m. and maybe you just never got around to doing that, totally hypothetically, right? So great. So maybe at like 3 o'clock that day, you say, hey, I'm out. Like I need to call it for the day. There are no hours outside of the meetings that you have. You have meetings with people. You have to be there at those times. Besides that, you want to work from 5 a.m. until 8 a.m. and then cut that time off the end of your day. If you have no meetings and such, who cares? Right? This is an opportunity to find out the way that you work best. And the last, have a dedicated workspace. Mary, this is all we're going to be talking about, right? Living at work. Here's the deal, guys. Your child's room, the dining room table, and the living room couch, not dedicated work areas, right? Do you have a separate space within your house or apartment or a separate room that is only used for work? That is what gets done in there. Why is this so important? Great question, Mary. Thank you. Guys, there's a study that was done, and it was on the self-complexity theory. I downloaded the journal article. I'm sure there's some nebulous gray area about me sharing it with you openly, but I go by Batman, so the least of my concerns is sharing a journal article with you. It literally talks about this idea of the multiple facets of people's lives and how working from home can be really unhealthy for people. And here's how the author describes it. He says, imagine if you go to a bar and in the same bar you talk with your professors, meet your parents, or date someone. That'd be weird, right? But when you're not separating your workspace, that's exactly what you're doing. You're sitting on the couch working. It's a place you work. It's also the place you sit with your spouse. It's the place you watch your TV. It's the place you eat dinner. Don't judge me, right? Where's the separation? Are you always working? Are you always just at home on your personal time? Or do you just denote for some reason at this time, this place becomes a different place? Mentally, it's really difficult. And if you haven't been doing this a while, it's super difficult to deal with. It's why you may have noticed, like, Carmen decided this morning she was going to go work outside of the house. Why? Self-complexity theory at work. Separate. Identify where you are, where the differences are in your life, and keep them that way to the best of your abilities. So let's talk about putting the social in social distancing. I absolutely love this piece. So how do you maintain that corporate culture we talked about? Yay, team calls. They weren't fun before COVID. They're certainly not any better now, but they're important, right? Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Glenn Cathy, about doing a daily stand-up. I do 2 of them a day. Now, if we don't have anything to cover, we cancel the call, but we have 2 set up so that way we can just connect with each other. But here's the deal, guys. Team calls have to be 1 level deeper vulnerability and personally than they have been in the past. What do I mean by this? I mean, hey, why don't we try doing something like, I don't know, icebreakers, right? We love this. This is a great way to get just gentle conversation going where it doesn't seem business every single time, right? Hey, Batman, what are some examples of this? Glad you asked. So number 1, picture sharing. Have 1 day a week where people share 1 picture with each other, right? A personal picture, something they thought was funny. We actually have a meme channel in our Slack where we throw our funny memes and can laugh and joke about them, right? Do you do bucket list sharing? This is huge. Do you have people share, 1 different person every week, share their top 3 bucket list items? You'd be surprised what you learn about people. And you'd be surprised how important it is at a time where there aren't lunch, beers, ping pong, water cooler, to have these conversations that could come up more naturally. Another, this isn't my cup of tea, maybe it's yours, virtual book clubs, right? Not my jam. I'm an audiobook person. Also, I don't like being told what to do, so that doesn't work really well, but really great way to have people engaged with you. Don't make it mandatory, but another great way to kind of engage on these team calls. Another one, my team will tell you, Nikeo and Julia, I am huge in one-on-ones. How huge, do you ask? I literally do a one-on-one with them every 2 weeks. Yeah, every 2 weeks. That means I'm doing a one-on-one literally every week. They themselves, although peers, are doing a one-on-one every 2 weeks as well. Why? Why in the world would I want to spend that much time, right? This feeling scared, feeling vulnerable, right? I want that to be okay for the people I work with. I want to be okay feeling scared and vulnerable and knowing that I can be that and still be a business professional. So what does this look like? Well, number 1, show the appreciation. I use AvaBot. Every 3 months, Nikeo and Julia get a customized gift in the mail. They talk to an AI bot and it just sends it out automatically, just to remind them, hey guys, thinking about you. I'm grateful that you're here. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me know if that coffee's good. I don't want to buy it unless you tell me it's any good, right? Show appreciation. The best way I found to show appreciation, though, isn't in the gifts, which are nice. It's in the taking of your time and being intentional. So this is an actual screenshot from our one-on-one calls when we go over goals. So we do this every 2 weeks where I say, hey, tell me something you're working on. Tell me something you feel you've been successful with. Take my notes about it. Then I ask them, hey, talk to me about your personal goals. I don't want to hear like, oh, I want to become a manager. Cool. Personal goals, right? Julie, I'm totally about to blow up your spot, so I'm really sorry. So when I talked to Julie about this and set this in our first one-on-one, one of the things she shared was, hey, in 2020, I want to get my half marathon mile time under 8 minutes per mile. I told her I'd like to get my 1 mile time under 8 minutes per mile. We're not built the same way, obviously. But I want you to know I wrote that down. Every time I have a one-on-one with her, I go through all of them and I say, hey, how are you doing on your training? Where are you at, right? She's like, hey, I did 4 miles, sub 8 minutes, even though it was really hot out. Hey, that's so awesome. That's great, right? I'm invested in you, not just invested in the numbers that you're going to hit. So super important, guys. Keep track of this stuff. It enables people to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel wanted in a time when it's really tough to express those feelings without just saying, I'm so glad you're here, Julia. Yeah, prove it. Here's a great way. Keep track of the goals. The last, this is brutal, and I hate showing this on screen. I read Patty, somebody help me here, McLean's book, the former CHRO of Netflix. I know it's McCord, maybe. And she actually gave this great piece of info. I took this with us, and my team swears by this. They do this with each other, not just with me. It's called the Start, Stop, Continue. And we have this every one of our one-on-ones where we write one thing we want the other person to start doing, they're not, one to stop doing that we want them, that they are doing currently, and a thing to continue that they're doing really well. Guys, this is an actual screenshot of the stuff that Nikeo had given me to work on. This isn't like, hey, stop wearing pink, or like, stop writing in Comic Sans. It's deep, it's vulnerable, it's super uncomfortable at first. But it creates that environment where even though we're distanced, we can't see each other all the time. We know that we've got each other's back. We know that there's a safe place to communicate with each other. And again, that you are heard, that you are valued, and that to the best of my ability, you are understood. And again, Julia and Nikeo are peers, and they do this with each other. They don't call it a start, stop, continue. They're a millennial and a Gen Z. They've got to come up with their own thing. God bless them. But they do the same thing, guys. It's not just for management. The other, team social events. So if you're thinking, I don't really like playing games. Yeah, I don't care. I didn't ask. Games are super important. They're engaging. They foster a healthy, competitive environment, or they just foster creativity. And if you're thinking, it's not really my jam, that third URL down that says /remote games, that's a study somebody did who was also not a games person, talking about the difference it made for the collaboration and the culture building of their team. Above that, Air Console and Go Game, 2 great sites to go to. They have a free version. They have a really inexpensive paid version. It doesn't have to be crazy. I'm not saying play Call of Duty and Halo, right? Play a card game. You want to be really adventurous and fun? Play Cards Against Humanity. Craig will tell you, we've played Cards Against Humanity on there. It is awesome. Asterisk, if you've never played that before, don't just jump in and play that. It's wildly inappropriate, but very funny. Then the last on this is people who say, well, we can't really do happy hours or lunches. Yeah, you can. Drizzly is a delivery alcohol service. Grubhub is a delivery food service, like Uber Eats, right? Guess what? You can reimburse people. You can order people alcohol and have it delivered for a happy hour. I will tell you, one of the folks I work with literally did this for me today. My heart was just swelling. And they're like, hey, you've been working your butt off. There'll be some beer at your front door at 5 o'clock. It's like, oh my God, awesome, right? Which means that I better be wrapped up by then so I can go get that. It's not impossible. We just have to be creative, guys. Come up with ways to make it happen. Don't just say it's different, it's harder. It's just different. It's not harder. So with all this, how do you figure out what's too much? What's too much team meeting time? What's too much Zoom time? Well, when I looked into this and I started doing research, I came across Zoom fatigue. I don't know if anybody else has done this before, but if you look up Zoom fatigue, or if you've ever even felt Zoom fatigue, there's a lot out there. To be clear, Zoom fatigue is referring to video chat fatigue. It's just like when you say Band-Aids or Q-tips. It's a brand name. We all know what it means. So Interesting facts, guys. Did you know that video calls are more draining than in-person meetings? More draining to be on a video call than in an in-person meeting. Why? Number one, you need to focus more on the conversations. So it's easier to make eye contact with someone in person or to have multiple people to make eye contact with. You're only looking at one place. So imagine being in a conference room where you can look over here and here and here, really build into the room, right? Get a read on people. Now I want to do that. And I'm going here and here and here. And so it becomes more and more difficult to actually focus on that conversation. Also, it's easier to lose focus on that. There's a couple things kind of contributing here. Number one, the amount of things we have access to, right? If you're in a conference room and all of a sudden you pulled up your laptop and opened Netflix and just put an earbud in and started watching, but like nodding your head and going, you can get fired, right? You can't just take your phone out and start text messaging your friend while you're doing this thing. It's not going to work, right? It's easier to lose focus in front of your computer. Face staring. Ready? I'm going to ask a question. I actually want to see what you guys do. This is legit. Please share it in the chat. When you're on a video chat with one person, are you looking at where their image is on your screen, or are you looking at your webcam? So are you looking at their video and not, quote unquote, making eye contact, or are you staring at the webcam to make eye contact and not being able to actually see them and see what they're doing? What do you guys do? Craig, right? You look at the webcam. I do the same thing. Right? Yeah, guys, look at this. Look at the difference. So here's the deal. You either have to deal with someone who's looking like this. If you can see my image, they're going like this while they talk to you. So it's just not even, they're not making eye contact yet. They're staring at you, or they're going to look right into your soul, but they can't see that maybe you have a confused look, or you're sad, or you shrugged, or you smirked, or whatever, right? That's exhausting. Either of those is exhausting. And then a big one, anxiety about distractions. So a lot of people have kids, a lot of people have dogs. I have dogs, right? I remember when all this started, my dogs are an Australian Shepherd and a Border Collie Aussie mix. When someone comes to the door, it's like a militia showed up, and my dogs are the last line of defense for humanity, right? And I consciously was always thinking, okay, all right, cool, all right. No, it's not ringing, Right, I hear my wife making noise in the kitchen. I'm like, oh no, okay, great, right? We have kids. Right? How many of us apologize? Oh, I'm sorry, that's my kid, right? Oh, I'm sorry, that's my spouse, right? If you're not in your own office, you ever have that fear that your spouse is going to walk by in their underwear or something? Like, holy crap. Or just come in and not think about it and be like, hey, babe, I'm going to, something, right? Like, that's a fear. That's an anxiety. That sits inside of you while you're presenting, and I don't care who you are. There's a piece of that sits there. I'm feeling it right now, right? On this delivery that's supposed to be coming in. What if they come early? And all of a sudden my dogs go bananas. This entire recording is ruined, right? That's where my brain goes. That's exhausting. You don't worry about that when you're in person, right? Here's the last big one. This is so funny to think of. So guys, when we're talking in person, and one of my favorite examples is Torrin Ellis, who does this. Torrin Ellis is a master of the pregnant pause. Right? He is someone who can deliver a message, and when he wants to make a point, he just lets it sit. When you do that on video chat, though, was there anybody out there right now who was like, did I lose internet? Is he like everything? Like, what's going on? Those gaps are really, really normal in normal conversation. They are not normal online. People naturally think, oh my gosh, what happened? And so you wind up communicating through your entire conversation, not giving credence to any pregnant pauses. And basically what winds up happening is while you're talking to people, you're talking like this, fighting basically to catch a breath in between things that you're saying while you're sharing, because you don't want to take a second just to breathe, to let the conversation be a really normal part of human interaction. Doing that's exhausting, guys. That's exhausting. So how do we balance, right? What's the answer to this? First, does the meeting need to happen? Guys, I'm going to say most of the time, conservatively, no, it sure doesn't, right? How many of us now are not doing some of the meetings we used to do when we were in person because it's super inconvenient, or people just are like, we don't need that. Yeah, you didn't need it then either, right? So do we have to have a meeting? Can we cover this over Slack? Can we just create a shared document and go through it? Can we text message about it, right? Like the folks who are working behind the scenes all created a Slack channel. There were times where like maybe we could have popped on a Zoom call and screen shared, but we didn't. We chose to talk through Slack or Facebook Messenger because it was a little bit of a reprieve, and we could use that as a way to find balance between our communications. Next, limit the number of video meetings. I just talked about this. Find different ways to communicate. This literally blends into this topic. Hide your face on the screen. There's a reason why video chats are exhausting. David York, thank you for that awesome setup. So here's the deal. When I do talks sometimes with folks or meetings, I'll sometimes call in from my phone at my desk. Why? Do you know that it's apparently unreasonably exhausting to look at your own face for an extended period of time? Not you specifically, generally as humans, it is exhausting to look at your own face. Hadn't really thought about that before. I've also never seen anybody work in front of a mirror all day, so I guess there's probably some validity there. So what do? Hide your face, right? Go on, check your hair, check your face, make sure the camera's, staying above the COVID-19, if you will, if you're me, and then hide your video. You don't need to look at your face. It's exhausting, right? This is a weird one. I do not have a mirror behind my desk. It's actually located on the ground. So if you see me looking down, I'm staring at my face down there instead. Guys, virtual backgrounds. I used to think like, oh God, that's so distracting. It winds up, according to the scientific study, it's not. It's the opposite. And I really had to understand, I had to read through this section of the study, because when you have 6 people on a call and none of them have virtual backgrounds, you are in 6 different rooms at the same time. 6 maybe different colors, different photos in the background, right? Like I know already that Craig has a photo of his boys and his wedding photo with Jennifer over his right shoulder in his office. So I see that, and then maybe I see the same thing, right? Like Torin and the little dude sitting next to him with the different color in the background. And then Carmen's got more of a down angle view in her office, got a little bit more of the earthy tones, right? So all of a sudden you're having to focus on all of these different colors, angles, just visual experiences. Just throw up a virtual background. I don't necessarily suggest the one I shared, but like maybe, right? Make social events opt-in. I'm not spending time on this. If you're doing a social event with your team, do not make it mandatory. This can be used as a litmus test. If people aren't showing up to your social events, they suck. Stop them or change them. And I clicked the link. That's one of the articles. Enjoy that. All right. And here's a big one. We got into a conversation about this at a previous conference in a side room about using Zoom for first round interviews with candidates. Ready for this? Do not replace your phone screens with Zoom interviews. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Your first round interview with a candidate should still be a phone screen. And if you're thinking, well, why? So, crazy fun fact, Zoom was around 12 months ago. It was here, still functioned, it was great. So why weren't you video conferencing for your first calls with people back then? Right? Because you wanted to build rapport with them, because it didn't feel very natural to do that, right? Why? Because right now we can't meet in person. A video interview is literally the equivalent of a face-to-face interview. You do not start with face-to-face interviews. It's not a thing. I've never heard that. And that's not true. Rarely hear that in an interview workflow. Just because we're doing it more as humans doesn't mean that that should be how we're changing our workflows for things that work, right? If I don't know you really well, I don't want to necessarily meet face to face, right? If you're dating and you're on a dating app and someone says, hey, would love to meet, you're not just texting them the address of the bar down the street and going to meet them. I mean, right? Yeah, right. Right, you're going to chat, get to know the person a little bit, and then face to face. So, new cultural norms, what are they? Number one, we're mixing our work and our personal lives. There's no say in the matter. You can argue with me, but I'm telling you that you're wrong. We're mixing this, and it's coming through more and more pervasively, and it's becoming more and more ubiquitous in every industry. Look at financial services, right? They used to be a suit and tie when I started here. No questions asked. You're in a suit and tie every day. Now, it could be a polo and slacks. And you say, well, it's a dress example. No, it's a culture example. When's the last time you got an email that said, Dear Dan, deleted, right? Or hello, Dan, deleted, spam. Why? Because I wouldn't walk up to Dan Lockhart and go, hello, Dan. He'd be like, oh, crap, dude, Batman's been hitting the sauce. Like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say, right? Hello, Craig Fisher. What would you say? Hey, Craig, how are things going at TalentNet? Right? Not how are things going at TalentNet Live, LLC, or Inc., whatever it is, sorry, right? They're coming together. We're seeing the inside of each other's homes. We're understanding that dogs bark, children make noise, spouses can be ridiculous and annoying, that stuff happens, right? Think about how much more often you're slightly late, 1 minute late to meetings now than you were when they were in person. Isn't that weird? Like, you're not going anywhere. You're literally in the same, like, you never move. Why is that? Because life happens. And people understand now, like, oh, okay, you have kids, you have a dog. You're an adult human with adult human things to do that aren't just work. And that's okay, guys. They're coming together. Leave your home life at home and your work life at work. That's fading away real quick. Next 5-10 years, that's not going to be a thing anymore. Next, adopting and adapting to technology. So this I've seen a lot, particularly in the last couple of months, even more so, of people realizing, okay, there's no such thing as normal anymore. We don't know what that looks like. I do know that I couldn't operate, though, without having to adopt X new technologies, right? Messenger, maybe it's Zoom, maybe it's another form of interview. So once you start doing that, you start becoming open to more and more and more, right? You kind of open the floodgates. Also, the people at the top of the ladder who maybe gave you a little resistance in the past to this are also having to do this now. So we're slowly but surely coming to a stage where most people are at least open to the idea of things that exist outside of the normal tools, LinkedIn Recruiter, that may be better, for example, in this case. Saying better than LinkedIn Recruiter. LinkedIn Recruiter is not the tool you should be using primarily. Next, guys, sense of community. This has been talked about. You guys are the living embodiment of this. We're here right now. It's the end of the day, right? But we're here supporting each other. We're here uplifting each other. We're here educating each other. And I've said this 100 times. And I will say this until I go blue in the face. You'll learn stuff listening to speakers at conferences. You will. You will never learn as much or be impacted as strongly as you will from the connections you make at these events, from the people that you meet on those Facebook groups and chats, from those LinkedIn comments going back and forth, those impromptu calls where you're like, hey, Torin, I saw you speak at TalentNet, for example, which is what I did. Hey, Craig, thanks so much for what you did for Global TA Day. Can we connect? I'd love to network with you. It's no agenda. They're going to say yes. We all have an invested interest in saying Yes, and in helping grow each other. So if you saw people, Dean, Steve Levy, Mark Tortorici, reach out to them. I promise you they want to help. They're not going to say no, and they're not going to be angry. Last is realness. So this for me is really important. If you know me at all, you know I pretty much show up the same way in my personal life as I do at work. I am me, for better or worse, right? I'm from New York. I'm loud. I talk fast. I swear pretty often. I'm pretty sarcastic. I tone that down maybe 10%. But the bottom line is I'm me. And I'm still I try to be professional. But I know who I am. I know that I care about this community. I care about everybody here. I do. Even if I don't know you, I care about you because you're here and you are in our space and we represent the same ideal and the same industry, the same job role in society. So I care about you. And I want you to see me. I want you to know who I am. Right? Not some professional mucked up version of me who uses words like salutations and, oh, perfect, or, oh, that is so erudite. It's not, right? I don't talk like that. I'm a dude, guy, man, awesome type of person. So I want to use that with you. I want you to see me. And I think people right now need to be seen. And so here's my story. For you guys, this is super, super vulnerable for me, so bear with me. Last time I've done this once, I got a little choked up and do my best. So something that most people don't know about me, save a select group here who maybe was at TalentNet last year and saw it, is that in my personal life, I struggle with addiction. What it's to doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not alcohol, obviously. And it's something that affected my entire life, right? I'm in a 12-step program. I've been in a 12-step program for 3.5 years. I've gone through all my steps, right? I see a therapist. I go through all of the evolution of recovery. And so I started this 3.5 years ago. I was a shit show of a human. I know, hard to believe, but really, I was a shit show. Right? My life was in shambles. My marriage was in jeopardy. I was getting fired from jobs. It was really bad. To that point, if you try to find stuff on me, anything I've written, done, attended in 2017 or beyond or before, you're not going to find anything. Nothing. Right? I wasn't who I am today. I was somebody who slung shit against the wall. I was a post and pray recruiter. I was a bombing through LinkedIn recruiter. I was everything I despise about our space now. I was that for 10 years, right? Slowly, though, through this process, I start seeing sobriety, true sobriety, not just release from the addiction itself, but like true mental and emotional sobriety, right? How? Well, I had a community, right? I went to this group every week and it was radical acceptance. Didn't matter what I said, they accepted me. Went to a therapist, right? It's a mentor. That's somebody I can unload on and say, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? Right? And I focus on self reflection, right? That's just being iterative. That's looking at your own processes. And I noticed in 2018, when I really started experiencing sobriety, my entire business changed. The way I approach this industry changed. In 2018, you may see a couple of different things from me that I put out there. It's actually Craig Let Me Talk. He was one of the first 2 conferences at TalentNet that I ever spoke at. And by the end of 2018, I felt really immersed in this industry, in this community. 2019 was insane for me. 19 conferences, 15 webinars. It was awesome. But I knew at the end of 2018, the beginning of 19, that my recovery and what I went through and my evolution professionally were woven together. They told the same story. They followed the same path. And I knew that there were others out there who could benefit from hearing this. But I wasn't going to get on stage and say, hey, I'm Mike. I'm an addict to 380 people who could be peers or clients or God knows what. There's no way. right? For 2019, I kept saying I was going to do it. I kept talking about it. When the thought came to doing it, I was terrified, right? This is going to ruin my career if I do this. Well, lo and behold, the end of 2019 rolls around, and I had the support of someone who's my mentor, who runs a conference. And he, excuse me, he was one of the first 2 conferences I spoke at. Craig Fisher encouraged me and said, do it. Do it. Come here and give that talk at TalentNet in December. And I just didn't know if I could. Lo and behold, December of last year at TalentNet, Toyota headquarters in Dallas in front of 300 people, 250. I got up and I gave a talk that started with, "Hi, my name is Mike and I'm an addict." If you know me or could guess at all, I don't get stage fright. I love public speaking. I'm a people person. Craig can attest, I was a disaster before this talk. I was pale white, cold sweating, nauseous, head between my legs, like shaking, right? Craig said like, "Hey man, are you all right?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know if I can do this." I was like, "I don't know if I can get on that stage and do this right now." And he said, "Hey man, you've got this, right? We support you. You'll be great." And I did. And I was freaking out when I started, guys, shaking, hands shaking. As I shared with everybody, "Hi, I'm Mike. I'm an addict." And it went well. People didn't boo me. I didn't get lettuce thrown at my head. And I finished. And while I was in shock still, people started coming up and thanking me and hugging me back at a time where we could hug people. And somebody come up in tears and thank me and say, "Thank you so much. I thought I was alone." Right? And like, you want the quickest way to get me to tears, it's bring up something vulnerable that I struggled with, that you did. And as a result of sharing that, I wasn't shunned. I wasn't turned down. I made deeper and more nuanced relationships with the people in this space, the people I care about, people I call my best friends today. And so guys, when you leave here, take all the cool stuff you learned. It's great. Take all those connections you made, guys. Are invaluable to change your life and your career. But just remember, you're you. You're awesome the way you are. You're totally fucked up, just like the rest of us. You're no worse. You're no better. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. And you're fine just the way that you are. You don't need to pretend to be anything else. Be real. We're all here for you. It's a great community. So guys, if there's any questions, I'll obviously ask, or feel free to ask. I can answer. Connect with me anywhere. That's my story, guys. I really appreciate you hearing me, and again, appreciate the opportunity to share this and to be vulnerable with you guys. And again, a special thanks to Craig for giving me that platform.
So how did that feel?
Come on, man. Like, can't you wait for me to get off camera and stuff? Like, it was awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome to be here with everybody and to say like, "Hey, here's who I am," right? Like, I'm totally messed up and like, judge me if you want, but like, I don't think people here do that. It's thanks, Craig.
Brother, that was so amazing. I couldn't think of a better end of the day. I can't wait to drink a cold beverage with you momentarily.
Yes, you as well. I literally can't wait for that.
All right, everyone. In the sessions tab, there are going to be some rooms opening up to meet up and grab your beverage of choice and discuss. Let's talk about Batman.
Bring it.
And everything else. This has been an amazing day. And Mike, Thank you so much for giving
Awesome.
giving us your heart, giving us yourself, helping us put this amazing thing together, and being an amazing MC all day. This has been quite a labor of love over a few weeks. Yeah, and it's been a long few days. So I'm amazed that you that you got through this. And yeah, well, even so, you just got through that and you did it perfectly. It was really good.
Thanks, man. Thank you all, and let's go grab some drinks together, guys. I'm not going anywhere.
Same. I'm going to stay right here. Oh, I'm going to go grab a drink.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
What rooms everybody going to?
Let's
go to Sessions for happy hours. Go to Sessions.
Yeah.
For happy hour.
In the session.
All right, guys. I think I'm probably going to be in the Texas one. If y'all want to come hang out, or you can find me, we can jump on chat. I'm cool. We're all here. Let's just get to know each other and all hang out together. Thanks for a great day, everybody.
See you, everyone. Happy Global TA Day. See you in a networking session shortly.